Let's talk about weaving. First, what is weaving? You can do it with your hands. You take your hands and put your fingers together. You just woven them together. It's the act of creating something made out of interlocking pieces. So we're going to take some pieces of paper and we're going to interlock them together. We're going to take a single piece of white paper and we're going to fold it in half. We like to call this the hot dog way. It makes a long and skinny fold. I want to make sure that my folded end is at my belly. So the bottom of the hot dog bun is at my belly, right here. Now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to draw a straight line across the top of the paper. I don't want to draw on top of the ruler, I want to draw underneath the ruler. So I am going to hold my ruler nice and steady with my hand and I'm going to draw my line underneath. Then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to line it up with the edge of my paper and I'm going to make straight lines down just from that top line. And I'm going to make what looks like a piano. Make sure you line up the ruler with your pencil line every time. We want to have nice, even, divided sections. If I get to the very last bit and there's only a tiny sliver, I'm not going to draw a line. We'll leave that one a little wider. Next, it's time to cut. All right, now I'm going to take my scissors and I am going to keep the alligator nice and steady and I am going to cut only up to that top line. I don't want to cut any pieces off. I just want to make strips. Now it's time for the weaving part. Let's pretend our pieces of paper are dolphins. A dolphin likes to jump up and down in the water and out of the water as it's swimming through the ocean. It goes up, it dives down, it jumps up, and it dives down. All of our little strips of paper are going to pretend they're dolphins. My first strip of paper is blue, and my first little blue dolphin is going to jump into the water over the first stripe that I've created in my loom. So over, and he's going to come up for air under the next one. And then he's going to go over that piece and down into the water. And then he's going to come back up, over, and under, and over, and under. Each piece, the little dolphin dives down and comes back up. Make sure he only goes one at a time. When I get to the end, it's going to be a little crooked, so I want to push it back into place. Next, we're going to use orange. Why did we put orange and blue together in our weaving? Do you remember when we talked about our colors? Orange and blue are always paired together in a special way. It's called an opposite color. Since our blue is opposite from orange, we're also going to make the opposite motion. My first little dolphin jumped over the first piece and into the water. My second dolphin is already swimming in the pool. This time he's going to jump out of the water first. So he's going to go under the first stripe and over the second stripe. Under and over. Everything else stays the same. You just have to start it differently. Under, over, under, over, all the way across to the end. Don't forget to scooch them in place. Let's go back to our blue. We're going to use opposite colors, so let's alternate. My blue started by jumping in over the first piece, and then under, and over, and then under. Let's see if we can see what happens when there's a mistake. Oh no, Something does not look right. Do I have my checkerboards? When you have a pattern that's correct, you want to make sure that the checkerboards only touch on the corners. Are my colors touching on the corners? Oh no. These guys look like they're stacking up on top of each other. We can't have that happen. If that happens, they hide underneath, and then they disappear. So how can we fix it? Let's go back and see what happened. First over, then under, then over, then under, then over, and under, and then over. Uh-oh. Looks like we went over too many pieces at one time. Let's back that little guy up. And make sure he only goes one at a time, one stripe at a time. Under, over, under, over, under, and through. Tuck them down into place so everything stays nice and tight. The best part about this project is once you're all finished and everything is tucked in nice and tight, nothing will fall out. You don't have to glue or anything. I'm going to keep going until my entire loom is filled up. I think the last piece and the second piece are the hardest ones to weave in this project. The last piece is the hardest because all the space is all taken up by our strips of paper, and there's not much room for that last piece to fit through there. You might have to cut your strip of paper a little smaller just to make sure it fits. There we go. Now we have a finished weaving. Nice checkerboard pattern. Everything tucked in nice and tight. If you want to, you can take a little bit of glue and you could just attach a dot or two underneath each of these little end pieces. That wouldn't be necessary. I don't believe any of your papers are going to fall out, but you can do it if you'd like to. You should also notice that once we've got the first side finished, if you flip it over, we have the same thing on the back. How cool is that? 2 projects in one. That's weaving. But Miss Huffman, I'm stuck at home. I don't have any colored paper. What can I use to weave? You can use anything. Pieces of magazine pages, papers from school that you don't need anymore, pieces of wallpaper, if you have any left over, even pieces of scrapbook paper. You might even have some strips of wrapping paper. How can we make interesting weaving out of this? The exact same way. I'm going to take my piece of paper that I don't need anymore. I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to create my same lines. This creates the loom. You're going to have to cut your own strips of paper. Make them as thin or as thick as you like. And then start your weaving. I took a scissors along the edge and I trimmed off the pieces that were hanging over. This isn't necessary. It's just whether you like it that way or not. This could be finished, but there are other things you could do to it also. What if I come back with smaller pieces of paper and I thread them on top of ones that are already in there? I can create an interesting effect by adding extra pieces. I can also take a hole punch and cut out smaller designs and glue those on as well. Let's see what you can do for your weaving. Don't forget to take a picture and turn it in Google Classroom so I can see your work. Have fun!